Hello, this is Sophomore Astrology. My name is Sarah, and I wanted to start a new series and talk about the ascendant or someone's rising sign. And the first one that I wanted to do, I kind of want to go backwards or probably out of order like I did with Mars. But I want to talk about Pisces Ascendant or Pisces rising, or the ruler of the ascendant being Neptune. Now, to kind of give an idea of what maybe people with this rising sign might look like, I kind of pulled to celebrities. So I looked it up, and some of the celebrities that have their ascendant is in Pisces I came up with Whitney Houston, Demi Moore, Billie Eilish, George Clooney, Ryan Gosling, Nipsey Hussle, G-Eazy, Antonio Banderas, and then Gwyneth Paltrow. So these are the celebrities that I kind of researched having a Pisces rising. So to kind of talk about what a rising sign or what your ascendant sign is, you have to kind of the thing is, when you kind of come up with your natal chart or your birth chart, it's important to know the time that you were born, because usually when you're looking day by day, the sun is going to be in the same spot for a month. The moon's going to be in the same spot for a day or a day and a half or two. But the rising sign or your ascendant sign changes every 2 hours. So you have to get very specific about what time you were born. And even more specifically, the degree depends on the exact hour and minute in that 2 hours. So that's why it's important to kind of know your ascendant sign, because it sets up all of your houses. Now, so for Pisces, to kind of give a brief overview about what, all the different houses and where they are. Just like Pisces is in the first house, then you have Aries in the second, Taurus in the third, then you have Gemini in the fourth, Cancer in the fifth, Leo in the sixth, Virgo in the seventh, Libra in the eighth house, Scorpio in the ninth house, Sagittarius in the 10th, Capricorn is in the 11th house, and then finally you have Aquarius in the 12th house. So that kind of sets up someone's houses. Of course, you would have to look at your specific chart, because sometimes what I've noticed is that people could have the same sign for two houses. Someone could have Sagittarius both in their 10th and their 11th house, depending on their that degree. Like I said, that they were the exact time and the degree of their ascendant sign, because it can kind of skew it a little bit. So that's also something to pay attention to as I'm saying this. So yeah, to kind of get into it, the first house, mostly everyone kind of understands not mostly everyone, but if you have some knowledge of astrology, Pisces rising, it's okay, Pisces in your first house, so you kind of look like a Pisces, or either the feel you have is that of a Pisces. So just to kind of dig deep, your first house is your identity, it's your ego. It's kind of your appearance, your first impression. The way I always see the ascendant sign is if someone came up to you and they're like, oh, after they've gotten to know you after a while, they're like, oh, when I met you, I thought you were this, or I thought you were da-da-da-da, or something like that. The description that people have when they kind of get to know you and kind of feel you out more, they usually tell you hey, when I met you, this is kind of what kind of person I thought you were when I first met you. It's the cover on the book, basically, before you kind of how they say don't judge a book by its cover. The ascendant sign is that cover. So when we're talking about Pisces, the cover that you see, it's these people can be very for one thing, I want to say that they're very ageless. It's kind of hard to put an age on them. And it's not surprising with these people, because I know even with Billie Eilish, people assume that she's a lot older than she is, because it's even their age, you can't really put time to them. And that's kind of how Neptune is as a planet. Neptune is not very time focused. Saturn, the planet of Saturn, planet Saturn is very time focused. Saturn, I feel if Saturn was a real person, maybe they are, or maybe it's a god or whoever, whatever. But if Saturn was trying to communicate how Saturn feels about time, I feel Saturn would be 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. Like, that's a very Saturn feel. Pisces is not, like, Pisces, especially being ruled by the planet Neptune, is very timeless. Time is elusive. Time is not linear. Time might not even exist. It's like we're here and then we're here, we're in the past, we're in the future, all at once when we're talking about Pisces energy. So Pisces people you can't really put an age to them. I even think it's interesting because when you think about Demi Moore, that time period where she was with Ashton Kutcher, some people might have like tripped up about the age difference, but like I said, you know, people with their Pisces ascendant, they don't really come off as having any particular age. They seem kind of very ageless. Also, I want to say that they kind of appear, or they actually have the feeling of being an old soul because they're so timeless, you know. I also kind of want to say that they definitely have a dreamy appearance. Because I feel like Pisces is a sign that is liked by Venus. Because if someone has their Venus in Pisces, then that is an exaltation. You know, Venus is very comfortable being in the sign Pisces. So it's no wonder that people who have Pisces rising or Pisces ascendant, that they're seen to be like very beautiful or very pleasing to the eye. To the point where it's not even just like about their symmetry of their face, but it's also like a feeling you get off of them where they just kind of like have a feeling of being very dreamlike and elusive and very fantastical. You know, it's not just, oh, you know, they're just sexy. It might be a little bit more to it. It's more of a fantasy around the person versus just that person, you know, having a sex appeal. And then also too, I want to say that they're chameleons because depending on where they are and just how they feel about themselves, because mind you, this means that someone identifies with being a Pisces, or you could say that their identity is having the traits of maybe not having an exact idea of what they're, because like saying it in so many ways, if Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is a very elusive, very dreamy, very like timeless, very, you know, you're trying to catch a cloud in your hand type of feeling. If someone has this energy and they feel this, they usually, okay, people with this ascendant feel that way about their identity. They feel like their identity could be very elusive. They might not feel like they are who they thought they were, you know, because maybe depending on the time, place, and space and what's going on with them at the time, they might have thought they knew who they were, and then they just keep learning more and more and kind of having an idea. And I feel like these people are the people who might not really understand who they are until they're towards the end of their life. Because as a child, they might not really understand who they are, and it might seem very elusive to them. And yeah, and also too, it's like this, a lot of people who might meet a Pisces rising, these people might seem very gullible, that they could believe anything, because Pisces is basically a sign of dreams, and it defies any type of limitation, realistic or not. You know, Pisces is a very multi-dimensional sign where, you know, the laws of physics might apply to this third dimensional world, but Pisces might also know like the laws and the restrictions of other worlds, or might even travel to other dimensions where nothing like that ever applies. So I feel like sometimes a Pisces rising might appear to be someone who's very naive, or someone who really doesn't know up from down, because maybe in a past life, or maybe when they were doing you know, any like astro traveling or anything like that, up and down and up are the same thing. So in this 3D world, they kind of like seem a little bit more lost in the sauce, because maybe they don't understand all the rules that apply in this third dimensional world. And I'm not gonna like exactly like explain every single like sign, or like I'm not gonna explain how each house is placed in their chart. You know, I'm not gonna say like exactly like Aries in second house means this, and I'm not gonna say Taurus in the third house means this. but I will kind of like describe in so many ways, kind of going around the wheel, like what does it mean for them in so many ways. I'm mostly going to explain it versus just saying, try to be all didactic about it and explain every little single thing. I'm just going to give you a feel to it. And honestly, too, that's me kind of communicating like a Pisces. It's just giving you the essence of what a Pisces rising is versus trying to like pinpoint every little detail about them, because that's also like not a very Pisces rising thing to begin with. I want to say that the way that they communicate, the communications about the third house and everything like that, and the way that they communicate, or the way that they kind of understand knowledge, is kind of like a Taurus. They definitely will understand people who have like a method and a tried and true way of explaining something, who kind of feed them seeds, or kind of like, these people will definitely thrive if they have people in their life who understand that in order for them to learn and to understand something, they kind of need to plant the seed and water that plant every day. If that plant's supposed to be watered every day, make sure that they do the little small things every single day to make sure that they really understand something. These people really definitely like to build on knowledge, and it's a little bit every day goes a long way. These people, like, if they wanted to like learn a language, the best way for them to learn a language is to really just study that language 5 to 15 minutes every day and build over gradually. That's definitely a way that they might understand. And it's also a way how they communicate. They like to communicate in a way, or try to learn something in a way where it's like they learn a little bit about someone or something every day, and they kind of layer. They like the layers of everything. And then also too, I want to say like, when it comes to maybe how they like grew up, especially when it comes to like parents or grandparents or something like that, it's kind of like, and I'm speaking about the fourth house, it's like these people might have had to, and honestly too, like as I say this, like masculine, feminine, it doesn't matter when it comes to gender, because regardless of who you were raised by, your chart kind of gives a little insight to who possibly was your nurturing, caring parent, or who also was your like dominant, more masculine parent, or caregiver or relative or what have you. And so what I'm speaking of is like the person, oh my god, the person who was more feminine and nurturing had traits of a Gemini. So that means is that like when it comes to being nurtured, there's an understanding that there's polarities to it. I feel like Gemini definitely teaches someone to understand that there's many faces, there's many polarities, there's many shades of people. And I'm pretty sure that maybe the way that people with Pisces rising, they might see their feminine, the person who took care of them, that feminine person who took care of them, they might have learned femininity in a way where they understand like femininity and emotions to be very multifaceted, to have many layers, to understand that it has many emotions as well. And I mean, in so many essence, it could be two sides of the same coin, where maybe that this person has been maybe traumatized and seeing how all over the place maybe someone could be with how they care about that person. Or it could also be a very beneficial thing where maybe that person learned from the nurturing parent how to, they learned that femininity has many layers and many sides and many faces to what makes up someone who can be feminine and nurturing. So they kind of understand someone who can be very nurturing can have many sides to them, many layers. They might have just not been just a mother, but they could also understand how they could be a career woman or an athlete, or, the list can go on, but they kind of understand femininity to be more than just what maybe society puts on it. The next thing is, so when it comes to like how they date, how they maybe flirt, how they have a good time, also their creativity, I feel like that is very attached to their emotions for sure. I definitely feel like these people, it's like emotions kind of evoke the creativity. And they also do have maybe a strong emotional tie to being a child, or when it comes to their children, they're going to be very like motherly towards those children because of this placement being in, like, with having everything lined up with their Pisces rising. Another thing I would say is that a lot of times, what I've noticed about astrology, and honestly, this is how I got into astrology too. When I kind of like got in the beginning of it, everyone wants to understand their romantic, their romantic relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what draws people into astrology in the first place. It drew me in before I kind of like dove really deep and found out that it's way more than just who's compatible with you when you're starting a date. But that's what the fifth house is about, and it's like people, like, you might enjoy the company of people who have very Cancerian energy, people who are very emotional, who are very like even emotional labile, but in a good way, where they have a lot of like variety and different shades to their emotions. Someone might really like that about the dating, like they like the ups and downs and all the waves that it is to date. They enjoy that emotionality that is dating. But then on the other side, for their seventh house, so when it comes to these people, and if they need, like, when it comes to long-term relationships, meaning the seventh house being in Virgo, or Virgo in the seventh house, it's, these people, when it comes to long-term relationships, like I said, these people could have their essence and the way that they think could be very, like, elusive, very, like, other of this world. I don't know. I kind of find it funny because it's like Pisces can be so not grounded and could be so in the clouds and floating in dreams and fantasies. It's like they need an anchor. So when it comes to like partnerships or long-term relationships, and when I'm talking about marriage, it's not just someone like, who you like just marry on paper, but it's like people that they have like soul contracts with, that they're meant to kind of be in their life for either most of it or a long part of it. Those people are probably going to have Virgo traits, or they're going to be attracted to people, attracted to long-term like partners, whether they're platonic, romantic, or whatever. They're going to be attracted to people who have Virgo traits. People who are detail-oriented, who are very kind of like set in reality. People who are very comfortable with kind of moving and organizing and kind of manifesting in this 3D world. People who really understand like the laws and orders of the 3D world. They definitely need like an earth sign to help them, specifically Virgo, because these people, they like, for example, a Pisces rising might not be the best at finances, so they're probably going to end up with someone who knows how to balance a checkbook pretty much, yeah. So that's with the seventh house. With the 10th house, kind of like, because like the fourth house is the nurturing feminine parent. And mind you, don't take the word parent too literally. I'm just kind of using that label just for the sake of understanding, fill it in as you may. It could be a mentor. It could be anyone in your life that was maybe like older, who kind of like gave you guidance when you were a child. So the fourth house is the more feminine, nurturing parent. Now the 10th house is more representative of the dominant masculine parent that was in your life. It also could kind of like explain to you what kind of like authority has looked like in your life. And these people with the 10th house in Sagittarius means that I kind of honestly think that people with their Sagittarius in the 10th house, I kind of think of like Doc from Back to the Future, or I think of Morty from Rick and Morty. My mistake, I meant Rick. Rick is the grandpa, like, of Rick and Morty, and I kind of feel like these are like mad scientists who kind of really understand, they're very wise people. They could be very, I don't know how to describe it. It's like people who grew up with someone having Sagittarius energy, kind of like how I described the Mars in Sagittarius. Sagittarius energy, when it's very influential in a good way and it's very positive and it's kind of being the beneficent, like, energy that it is, because Jupiter's considered a benefic planet. So Sagittarius can be very enlightening. It can be very wise. It can give you a lot of information. Sagittarius is a very, like, they could be, I feel like this person could be a very passionate mentor, a very passionate teacher who will really kind of like light the fire up under your ass to kind of really like get you going and excited about life and learning and exploring and traveling. That's what I think of. On the flip side, though, it's like these people with this type of like placement or something like that, they might have had to deal with people who were in authority, who maybe, yes, they had a passion for what they do or what their role, they have a passion for their role, but maybe there is an essence of them that is very like, you know, an untamed horse who's just kind of like traveling in the wind. They might not be as reliable. Like, authority is not as reliable with people who have their Sagittarius in the 10th house. And then just a quick mention, you know, these people, they could be very committed to the community. The way that they operate in the community, they will be very rule-abiding people. These are people who could be very good citizens, and they understand that laws and orders are important to kind of keep everyone safe and keep everyone going. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone understands that, hey, you know, if I clean up after myself, and I throw away the trash that comes out, like flies out of my car, then the whole community will be clean if I do my part. These people are people who are very serious about doing their part and doing everything that they need to do and is required of them to make sure that it doesn't like affect other people in a negative way. Also, these people are very dedicated to being really good friends to their friends. They will definitely do their part, you know, because honestly, every relationship we have is contractual. We all kind of expect things from people, and people expect things from us to make the relationship keep going. These people are very good at honoring that contract that they kind of make with other people, whether it's like it's like said out loud or if it's just kind of assumed. And then last but not least, I want to talk about like the 12th house. Now, the 12th house, it's Aquarius is in the 12th house. Now, the 12th house is interesting because the 12th house is Pisces. It is the 12th house is ruled by Neptune. You know, this is the home of Pisces, but we have Aquarius here. Now, the 12th house is like about karmic debt. It's about the psyche, and it's also about things that are not said but are like underneath the surface, things that are very like hidden within us. I honestly feel like this is like also kind of gives you an insight to maybe who someone was in a past life, what karmic debt they might have brought in this life too as well. You know, if you kind of think of someone who has past lives, and you know how we enter a new life and our memories kind of like wiped, like Men in Black wiped out, where we don't remember anything from the lifetime from before. That memory that we have that is wiped out, I feel like is the 12th house. We're not meant to remember things from past lifetimes because we're meant to kind of really truly just be in the moment and enjoy this lifetime. But with knowing that, it's kind of like people, well, at least we get to know exactly what kind of traits exist for the people that maybe had been in our past lives, or what kind of traits we had. Because it's karmic debt, and it has to do with Aquarian energy, meaning that people might trigger you. People with Aquarius traits either might trigger you, or they might enlighten you. Though that is still like a dark and light, like it's a polarity, you know. People who trigger us, they're teaching us something, you know, versus the people who enlighten us and inspire us, they're also teaching us something. It's just the emotional reaction might be different, but the same end result of learning about our soul that much better, it makes it that much better, you know? And when we're talking about people who trigger you with having Aquarian energy, it's kind of like, I really feel like in this lifetime, the karmic debt that people need to clear is understanding that their devotion to community, with it being Aquarius energy, community, learning how to kind of stand on your own and be different than other people. Maybe that wasn't done in a past lifetime where someone really needed to learn learn how to really stand on their own and kind of like accept themselves for who they are. Maybe they didn't do that in a past life. So they're kind of like in this life, they're being brought into being a Pisces rising where they kind of have to be in search of who they are and learn how to be comfortable in that. I also kind of feel like when it comes to friendships, you know, these people might get very, like, their friendships might be very triggering for them, or their friendships could be a way that they understand themselves that much better. And then also, too, is just, like, understanding that I think, because what it is I think Aquarius is very accepting that they might be different than others. Aquarius, in its most high vibrational essence, it understands that they're meant to be different for the better, to kind of like help people move forward and be innovative and kind of push on for a better future. And it's kind of like Pisces has that spiritual gift to be able to weave in and out of dimensions and weave in and out of dreams and nightmares and fantasies and through hidden truths and secrets all the time. But it's kind of like sometimes I feel like with having this karmic debt having to do with Aquarius, I feel like Pisces risings really need to learn how to really focus on which dimension or which world they're trying to help or what they need to save. Because Aquarius can be very specific as to who they're helping and who they're trying to save and who they're trying to, what technology from which world they need to advance. Because it's like Pisces is the traveler, but that's why I think people with Pisces risings really need people, like I said, who have Virgo energy and Aquarius. Because honestly, when you think about the otherworldliness of Pisces and then you think about the practicality of Virgo, you mix those two energies together and then you kind of have Aquarius, where Aquarius kind of understands the surroundings and knows enough that, hey, I'm in this world but not of it. Understands the world, but understands that they're not of this world. And I feel like that's what a Pisces rising really needs to learn, is learning that, needs to remind themselves who they are, understand that they're different, accept that they're different, and then really see those differences as important into kind of helping other people and serving other people. Because I didn't really mention the sixth house, but their sixth house is in Leo. And I really feel like their identity, who they are, their pride, their strength, is what serves other people, and it kind of like helps other people to be that much better. So yeah, that's kind of like my take on Pisces rising. I know it's kind of more house focused and it's not as much focused on just like what it means for Pisces to be in the first house, but this is kind of like how I see, if we really want to talk about how their houses are set up. You know, this kind of gives you a full picture of why it's so important to know the ascendant and how each house and in which signs are in each house, how that really kind of makes it more specific of what the journey is for these people. So with that, I just want to say, this is Sophomore Astrology, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for listening.